They say, you never truly understand betrayal until it comes from family. I learned that truth standing outside a study, shaking, as I heard my parents and brother laugh about how naive I was. How simple it was to drain my accounts, year after year. All while editing me out of every family vacation album. Every single important memory. My name is Tove. I'm 34. I built a tech company from the ground up. I live in a $3 million penthouse overlooking the city. A monument to what I built by myself. Or so I believed. 10 days before my birthday, I heard the conversation that burned my world down. My father. My mother. My brother Finn. All of them in the study. Plotting. $20,000 for their annual holiday gala. My $20,000. For a party where I was expected to be an afterthought. She's too naive to ask questions, my father said, his voice dripping with condescending amusement. My brother laughed. It's cute. Really? In that single moment, I made a decision. I wouldn't scream. I wouldn't cry. I wouldn't give them the satisfaction of a confrontation. I would simply erase them. Christmas night. Their gala imploded. No caterer. No orchestra. 100 humiliated guests shivering in the cold. Meanwhile, 50 stories above the city, I hosted the party of the year. Real friends. Real laughter. Real family. By 8:30 p.m. My phone was a flashing beacon of their desperation. 120 missed calls. Voicemails filled with rage. But here's what they didn't comprehend. I'd been documenting their financial abuse for 2 years. I had receipts. I had witnesses. And I had a forensic accountant who was about to uncover a family secret. So criminal. So deeply corrupt. It would do more than just rewrite our history. It would end them. This is my story. And believe me, the party was only the beginning. My name is Tove Lindstrom. And for the last 10 years, I've been the CEO of Ethereal Logic, a software architecture firm I founded in my tiny apartment with nothing but a laptop and an idea. My penthouse, with its floor-to-ceiling windows, offering a panoramic view of Seattle's skyline, was supposed to be my sanctuary. Every morning, I'd watch the ferries glide across Puget Sound, a cup of black coffee in my hand, and feel a sense of profound accomplishment. This view, this life, was my proof that I had escaped, that I had built something real. Something that was entirely mine. My family lives 30 minutes east. In a sprawling, soulless mansion in Medina, where the lawns are too green and the silence is too loud. My father, Alistair, is a 68-year-old real estate developer with a handshake that feels like a threat. My mother, Eleanor, is 65. A woman whose entire existence revolves around maintaining the perfect social facade. And then there's Finn, my older brother, 36. The golden child. He's Alistair's perfect clone. From his polished charisma to the cruel glint in his eyes. He works for my father. Of course. Holding a vague vice president title that means he attends lunches and cashes checks. The pattern was set so early, I barely recognized it as a pattern. It just felt like life. When I was 10, I won the state science fair for a robotics project. I spent 6 months building. My parents didn't attend the ceremony. Finn had a polo match that day. He came in fourth. They threw a dinner party to celebrate his strong showing. When I was 18, I was offered a full academic scholarship to Carnegie Mellon for computer science. That's practical, Alistair had said, before signing a check for $40,000 to buy Finn a new sailboat for his graduation present from a state university he'd barely passed. The final straw, the thing that made me start documenting everything, happened 2 years ago. A local lifestyle magazine was doing a feature on Seattle's power families. They wanted a portrait of the Lindstroms, taken in our Medina home. I drove out there, wore the dress Eleanor had picked out, and stood beside Finn as the photographer set up the shot. Just before he started shooting, my mother put a hand on my arm. Tove, darling, would you mind stepping out for these? The composition is just better with 3. I stood in the hallway, listening to the camera click, listening to my father tell a charming story about Finn's latest business triumph. That night, I went home, opened a secure server, and created a folder labeled The Lindstrom account. I started scanning receipts, screenshotting texts, and building a timeline. I am a software architect. I build systems, and I find bugs. And my family was the buggiest system I had ever seen. The day after their party collapsed, the real war began. It wasn't enough that I had publicly humiliated them by simply refusing to be their bank. They had to destroy me. The first call came from my biggest client. A multi-million-dollar account I'd personally secured. Tove. We have to put the project on hold, my contact said. His voice strained. Your father called our CEO. He mentioned some financial instabilities in your company. Said you were unreliable. Alistair was trying to poison the well, to dismantle the very foundation of my success. Then came the letter from their lawyer. A cease and desist, demanding I stop using the Lindstrom name in any professional capacity, as if I'd ever leaned on their reputation for anything. But the real blow came that afternoon. An eviction notice. Apparently, a shell corporation controlled by my father had bought the entire floor of my building 3 months ago. They were terminating my lease, claiming I had violated an obscure clause in the homeowners association agreement. They were trying to take my home, my sanctuary, the one place on earth I felt safe. That was their mistake. They thought they were cornering me. They didn't realize they were just giving me a reason to burn their kingdom to the ground. That night, I didn't sleep. He sat at me marble dining table, the city lights twinkling below, and I made 2 calls. The first was to my lawyer. Ben Carter. They've declared war. Ben, I need you to go on the offensive. File an injunction against the eviction, and countersue for defamation and tortious interference. The second call was to a woman named Anya Sharma, the best forensic accountant in the Pacific Northwest. Anya, it's Tove Lindstrom. I need you to conduct a full forensic audit, not just on my finances, but on my family's. I want to know where every dollar they have has come from for the last 15 years. And I need you to run a deep credit analysis on my name. Everything. I have a feeling they haven't just been taking my money. I think they've been taking my name. Anya's voice was calm and precise. When people get this desperate, Tove, it's usually because they're hiding something much bigger than a failed party. I'll start immediately. 3 days later, Anya called me at 6 in the morning. You need to come to my office. Now, her office was a sterile, quiet space that smelled of paper and coffee. She didn't waste time with pleasantries. She slid a thick file across her glass desk. They didn't just take your name, Tove. They leveraged it to save themselves from ruin. I opened the file. On top was a loan agreement from a private credit union dated 11 years ago. The principal amount was for $2 million. The primary borrower was listed as Tove E. Lindstrom. My signature was on the bottom of the page. A near-perfect forgery. The co-signer was Alistair Lindstrom. I never signed this. I whispered, my voice hoarse. I know, Anya said. I pulled your university enrollment forms from the same year. The signature on the loan is a trace. A good one. But it's a forgery. The loan was taken out 2 weeks after your father's primary commercial property company declared Fund 2, Second Sua, Taro Lar, Chapter 11 bankruptcy. A fact he managed to keep out of the papers. This $2 million didn't just keep them afloat. It was the seed money for the entire development portfolio he has now. Their entire fortune. The mansion in Medina. The parties. Finn's sailboat. It was all built on a fraudulent loan taken out in their 23-year-old daughter's name. My blood went cold. It wasn't just that they stole from me. They built their entire lie on my good name, while telling me I'd never be good enough to be part of it. The real twist wasn't the loan itself. It was how they'd been paying it. Anya pulled up another spreadsheet. For 11 years, they'd been making the minimum payments from an offshore account. But the interest was substantial. To keep the balance from growing, they needed infusions of cash. My cash. The $20,000 for the Gala. The $10,000 for a new roof. The $50,000 I invested in one of Finn's fake startups. It wasn't for parties or luxuries. It was to service the secret debt they'd taken out in my name. I was paying off a fraudulent loan I never even knew existed. There's one more thing, Anya said, her voice soft. She handed me a small USB drive. My investigator got this from a former assistant of your father's, the one he fired without cause last year. She kept a few things as insurance. Anya plugged the drive into her laptop. My father's voice filled the room. Calm and casual. It was a recording of a phone call. The interest payment is due next week. Just get it from Tove. Tell her the caterer for the party needs a deposit. She won't check. She trusts us. The other voice. A man I didn't recognize. Asked. Are you sure this is sustainable? Alistair, if she ever finds out about the loan. My father laughed. That same condescending laugh from the study. What's she going to do, Sue? Her own family. She doesn't have the stomach for it. I stood up. The recording still playing. Anya, I said. My voice as cold and clear as glass. Get me the number for the white-collar crime division of the FBI. The power flip wasn't going to be in a courtroom. It was going to be on their stage. 2 weeks later, Alistair Lindstrom was set to receive the Developer of the Decade Award at the Washington Realty Gala. The biggest real estate event of the year. It was his coronation. Hundreds of the city's most powerful people would be there, celebrating the empire he'd built. The empire built on my name. I walked into the grand ballroom of the hotel, flanked by Ben, Anya, and 2 quietly intimidating FBI agents in sharp suits. My father was on stage, accepting his award. A picture of grace and success. Eleanor and Finn were at the front table, beaming with pride. He saw me first. A flicker of confusion crossed his face. Then annoyance. The crowd murmured as I walked directly toward the stage. What is the meaning of this? Alistair said into the microphone, his jovial mask slipping. I took the stairs to the stage, and one of the agents handed a USB drive to the tech crew. Before you continue, Dad, I said, taking the second microphone, my voice echoing through the silent hall. I think your colleagues deserve to know how the Developer of the Decade really got his start. He laughed. But it was brittle. Tove, you're making a scene. This is embarrassing. You want to talk about embarrassing? I said, turning to the audience. How about building your entire career on a $2 million fraudulent loan taken out in your daughter's name? The crowd gasped. On the massive screen behind us, the forged loan document appeared, followed by a side-by-side comparison with my real signature. That's a fabrication, Alistair shouted. Then let's listen to the fabricator himself, I said calmly. And then his own voice filled the ballroom. Just get it from Tove. Tell her the caterer for the party needs a deposit. She won't check. She trusts us. The silence in the room was absolute. A vacuum of shock and horror. The lead FBI agent stepped forward, his badge held high. Alistair Lindstrom, you are under arrest for bank fraud, Wehre Fraud, and aggravated identity theft. As they cuffed him, his face was a mask of pure, unadulterated hatred. He lunged toward me. You ungrateful child. I gave you everything. No, I said, my voice steady for the whole room to hear. You gave me nothing. You took everything. I'm just balancing the books. 6 months later, I'm standing in the newly opened headquarters of the Ethereal Foundation. The trial was a media sensation. Alistair was found guilty on all counts. He'll serve a minimum of 15 years in federal prison. Finn was convicted of conspiracy and got 5. Their assets were seized. The Medina mansion sold at auction. The Lindstrom empire was liquidated to pay back the banks and the creditors they'd been deceiving for over a decade. My mother, Eleanor, was never charged. But she lost everything. She lives in a small condo now, paid for by what was left of her family's money. She sends me a letter once a month. They are filled with blame, with accusations, with a complete inability to comprehend her own role in the destruction. I never write back. The foundation, funded by the court-ordered restitution from my father, provides grants and mentorship for young women from underprivileged backgrounds who want to pursue careers in technology. We give them the support they never had, the family they never had. Last week, I received a letter from Alistair in prison. It was one sentence. Asterisk. You should have been grateful. Asterisk. I have it framed on my desk. A reminder that some people will see your strength as an insult to their control. Right up to the very end. This morning, I had coffee with the 17-year-old girl we're sending to Carnegie Mellon on a full scholarship. She told me, with tears in her eyes, that for the first time in her life, She feels like someone believes in her. That feeling, right there, is worth more than any inheritance my family could have ever left me. If you're watching this, and you've ever been made to feel like your only value is what you can provide for others, listen to me. The trust they saw as a weakness was actually the quiet fuel for the strength that held them accountable. Your worth is not defined by the people who use you. It's forged by the life you build when you decide to stop letting them. My name is Tove Lindstrom, and I'm the daughter they thought was too naive to notice. Today, the fortune they built on my name is building futures for others. That is my company. That is my family. And it all started the moment I decided to stop paying for a party I wasn't invited to. If this story helped you, please like this video. Share it with anyone who needs a reminder that your true power is something no one can ever fraudulently sign away. And comment below with your own story of taking back your name.